here today to talk about some of our new releases, talking about success flows, Zendesk, and our other cool customer love features. Hopefully, you've already noticed some of them in your Tatango instance. So a little bit about me. I'm Cecilia Tavel. I've been with Tatango for about 3.5 years and just enjoy working with all of you guys, learning best practices and sharing these with you. If you have any questions for me after the session or want to stay in touch, you can just reach out and email me at ceciliatatango.com and I'll be happy to stay in touch with you. So for today's agenda, we're going to be talking about success flows. Success flows allow you to associate and manage customer interactions by lifecycle stage or business process. Zendesk integration. So for those of you that have Zendesk as your ticketing tool, you can actually integrate that and gain richer context by seeing ticket information into Tango. We'll also talk about the customer love features. So we have the new click to call, click to email, and click to website capabilities. So with one click, you can get connected with your customers. And then also one-click attribute editing. You can actually modify key account information directly in the profile header just by editing the attribute directly from that screen. So I'll show you all of that. We have some screenshots to go through in a PowerPoint, and then I'll also dive into the live demo of Tatango to show you these items in real time. Also, just to let everybody know, we have some time, hopefully, at the end to answer questions. So if you have any questions that come up during the session, feel free to type them into the question box, and I'll take as many questions as I have. So to get started with the first part of this, the success flows, and if you haven't done this yet, this is something that you want to make sure you do for your team before you start using success flows. And really the success flows capability is going to be within the settings section on your navigation panel. So if you are an administrative user of Tatango, you will be able to navigate to that section and get your success flow setup completed. There's going to be some things that are already pre-configured, but we do encourage you to review the specific success flow categories and modify and add your own. You have up to 12 that you can configure here and actually select different icons for them, select which one will be a default for you, and then basically decide what is going to make sense for your organization. We do have some best practices that you can follow as well, but basically this should align with your specific process as to what happens and how and what kind of engagements you have with your customer, and then just picking the right name that's relevant for your team and a meaningful icon so that everybody can enjoy using it in the UI. So the process of adding a new success flow, you simply click on the Add Success Flow. You can designate a name for it. So in this particular example, I called my Success Flow Advocacy, and I picked a little diamond icon for myself just for fun. But you can essentially select any one of the icons that are available to you, and whichever one has a more meaningful visual, that's the one you should select for whatever process you're building out. Now, there are a few things that have been added with the success flows, and I'll show this to you in real time as well. But in your My Portfolio section, when you go into the notification section, you can now actually filter your touch points by a type of success flow. So in this particular case, I'm going to look for everybody that was a nurturing success flow. So that's the type of engagement that I had with a customer. I was nurturing them. And I can also filter it by the type of touch point or notification that it was. So I can search by touch points. I can look for all my tasks, by my support tickets, etc. So now I have a little bit of richer filtering capabilities in my portfolio. The other thing that has been added also, if you look at the account profile page, there is a section that is exposed on the top where you can see your last success flow engagement for whatever type of engagement it was. So in this particular case, my last support activity was on August 25th, 2016. I can easily edit the specific success flows I want to track in my account portfolio profile page and see when was the last date for my particular type of engagement. So my last QBR or my last nurture activity. And so this is configurable for you. An admin level user can set this up across the board for the whole organization. The other addition is also the timeline. So now we have timeline filtering, editing, and deleting capabilities. So within your timeline section on the account profile, you can also filter by a specific type of success flow. So in this particular case, I'm looking at all of my touch points or all of my timeline and events that were on an onboarding success flow. I can easily do that. And then I also have an ability to edit and delete a touch point. This was not available before. So now if you have made a mistake in recording your touch point and want to go back and edit it, now you have the little pencil icon. You can easily go in and make changes. And then also for whatever reason, if you put a touch point that shouldn't be there, you can delete it. So that's really a great new addition to the newest release with that capability. The other addition is with the success flows on the team console. So the team console now has also the filtering capabilities. So you can actually filter by the type of success flow. So you can see where your team is spending their time. And you can also hover over. So if you look at one of your success managers, when you hover over their coverage, their account coverage, you can see a distribution of the particular success flows or the types of engagements that they're having. So you can really see, what is your team spending their time on, and do we need to adjust something so that we have more time to focus on really the more meaty and meaningful activities with a customer. So in this particular case, looks like Ron is spending over 32% of his time in onboarding activities, and then 25% in nurture activities. So if that needs to be shuffled somehow, or maybe he needs a little bit more help in onboarding, so that he has more time to do nurture activities or maybe upsell activities, this is where you can really strategize and decide what is the right, alignment, and where should your team focus their time based on the type of engagements that you see to be more valuable for your organization. So this is a new great addition. The other additions are within all of the kind of the operationalization components of Tatango with success plays. This is a screenshot of the success flows editor. So when you build a new success play, you can define what type of success flow that success play is going to be handling. So in this particular case, I also specified nurture. So you have that. And now with that as well, on the success flows section, you can also filter by a type of success flow. So if you're looking for all the success plays that were of a particular type, let's say I want to understand how many success plays I have that are of upsell. So I can actually specify that filter and look for them within my success flows, success plays section into Tango. Very similar capability within the campaigns. So if you're looking to build a new campaign in your editor, you can actually define the type of campaign that this will be. What are you trying to do here? Maybe you're doing a one-to-many program and you're going to be doing a nurturing campaign outreach. So you can actually specify what it's doing. Maybe you have a self-service upsell campaign that you can run where your customers can basically self-service themselves and get get themselves on a bigger, better package automatically. So you can actually specify an upsell type of campaign, and then you can obviously filter by that later on, which allows you to basically look in at all your campaigns and find out which ones were of a particular type. So that's very consistent with the same that I just showed you with the success plays capabilities with campaigns filtering and defining a type of process that you're doing and specifying the specific success flow type. Now I want to show you a few things that are related to our customer love release. We will also do a live demonstration of this. So if you have defined, and most of you would have on the account profile section at the top, your own kind of definition of specific attributes or data points that you're tracking in the account profile at the top in the header. And now if those attributes are being managed into Tango, so meaning you're updating the data inside to Tango, you can easily hover over those sections and click on the little pencil icon to bring in the capability to edit the value. So you can actually edit the attribute, give it a new value, or enter an existing value. So now you can easily do that directly in the UI into Tango without having to navigate anywhere else. So that's your one-click attribute editing. The other capabilities of click to call, click to email, and click to website, you can do this either in the timeline, and you can also do this in the attributes. So if you are sending to us phone numbers for your customers, email addresses for your customers, and any websites, you can easily click with one click, perform these operations directly in the attributes section. But if you're just noting these items, and this is exactly what I did here, I noted the phone number and email and a website directly in the timeline. And now when I click on the phone number, if you have cell phone capabilities, I can actually dial that number directly from the UI. And then the email, if I click on the email, it would open up an email browser for me. And then again, if I click on the website, it would open up a website for me. So those are really neat, quick ways to get in touch with your customer that are great new enhancements as part of our Customer Love release. Now, the other component is the Zendesk integration, and don't feel left out of the party if you don't have Zendesk. Some of the things I'll show you that you can do with kind of the support ticket information, you can easily accomplish by sending us your ticket information through other systems. So there's a way to get that data into Tatango, even if you don't have Zendesk. But if you do have Zendesk, and if you are an admin, to configure that, it's pretty straightforward. Within the settings section under the integration hub, you will simply navigate to the Zendesk component, and you will walk through the quick wizard to get everything connected. So you'll make sure that you map to the right Zendesk organization ID so that we have a matching relationship between account identifiers. You will select the specific ticket metrics. So you'll go kind of through the process of defining the fields, and then sync the systems. And then we should start getting the ticket information into Tatango. You'll also be able to see the status of your sync. So, once the sync runs, you'll see what your match rate is, how many accounts are matching, how many matched accounts you have, and then go through the process of, course correcting or resolving some of the issues if there are any issues on the status page. And from there, what you'll gain is an ability to view your Zendesk ticket information directly in the account profile page of Tatango. So you'll see how many unsolved tickets you have, what the ticket volume is, the specifics on tickets, and then you'll be able to actually gain the capability of sending or getting notifications on ticket information. So this screen shows you the My Portfolio page, where in Notifications tab, I'm sorting by all of my tickets, and now I can actually see the specific account. I can see what ticket was solved. So I can see that information and kind of the volume of the support activity for my customers. Now, the other thing you can do is really amazing, actually. So when you build segments, you can build segments again on user level and account level. And in this particular case, you can expose and see how many unsolved tickets you have per customer. And you can see how many unsolved top priority tickets you have for a customer on the user level. You can do the same thing on the account segments. So if I wanted to look at all my customers that are paying and have over one ticket that is in top priority, I can see that in my results. I can also expose the total volume of tickets that are unsolved in top priority. So for example, in this case, I have Black Cell Marketing. They have 5 top priority tickets that are unsolved, which could be problematic for organization. And the way you would get to this, when you define a segment, and I'll show you this in a live demo as well, in the filter conditions under the support section, you'll have this capability of bringing out the unsolved ticket part. And then you can define what your threshold is if you want to see more than 1 unsolved or maybe over 3, depending on your comfort level of that many top priority tickets. You can define your filter to look for that. Now, what you can actually do with this, and this is where the fun starts, is by leveraging the support information. And again, Zendesk is just one piece of it. If you do have this data coming in from other support ticket systems, we can also work with that. But basically what you can do is build a campaign, and you can do a campaign and label it as an escalation type campaign. And you can reach out to all the customers that have over one ticket that is of top priority. And basically your message could be, we're on top of it. Thank you for your patience, whatever the message would be, to make the customer feel confident that you're there in good hands, that you acknowledge that they have a top priority ticket and it is a problem for them that you're working on. Now you can do the same thing with success play, so more of an internal process for your customer success department to be alerted about any top priority escalations, as far as support is concerned. So you can actually build a success play the same way with accounts that have over one top priority ticket. You can label that as an escalation type and engagement, and then you can inform your customer success team to have an internal meeting to check on status of tickets, so that you can then get in touch with the customer and give them like a more thorough update. So it's really getting everybody aware. Now that there is that ticketing information coming in, you can automate this process, and get your team in front of that fire right as potentially happens, so that everybody can expedite the process of resolution, and the customer success department can work collaboratively with the support team to make sure the customer gets the care that they need. Now, another really powerful thing you can do is build a segment with the same logic of number of top priority unsolved tickets. And then you can use the triggering mechanism to get notified by email. So whenever there's a new account that has more than one top priority ticket, in this particular case, if you specify notify by email address, and I just simply called it escalations@team.com, maybe you have an internal distribution list or an email address that makes sense for everybody to get notified. You can get an escalation and an email right away when there's a high top priority ticket coming in that way. So that's your other way to get immediately notified, is by using the segments capability and using the triggers and specifying an email address there. Now you can also, if it makes sense, I don't necessarily advise for this unless you really feel strongly about it, because I think the notifications and success plays can be used for alerting your team and your department of any high priority or unsolved tickets. But if you do believe that high level of support tickets or top priority tickets that are unsolved should affect the health of your customers, then you can absolutely infuse that into your health definitions. And the criteria that I have here is number of top priority unsolved tickets is at least 3, which would potentially deem that customer to go into poor health. So you can absolutely leverage this new ability to expose the support information and build your health around that. So that's a new gain that you have with this new feature as well. Now, the other thing you can also do is actually visualize some of this information. So we have reports, and reports are built from segments. So your building block for a report would be a segment. And if it is interesting to you, you could build segments. And I built a simple segment with accounts that have at least one top priority ticket. And that segment is, basically being exposed here. And I can see my trends of over time, how many customers I had on each particular date that had over one top priority ticket, open at any given point. I can also break it out by my success manager. So I can see how many per success manager who has the most customers with top priority unsolved tickets. So that's your one example of how to potentially build some visuals with the data that you have, build reports, and see how you're tracking and trending. Hopefully the number of these types of customers with top priority tickets decreases over time, but it does give you that visualization so that you can start tracking and measuring yourself against that going forward. So with that, I'm actually going to skip out of this, and we're going to get into a demo portion of our webinar. Again, if you guys are running into any questions or want to post your questions in the question window, feel free to do that while I switch into my next window. All right, so now that we're in Tatango, this is a demo instance. I'm right at the home page where you guys will end up when you just log into Tatango. So I'll go kind of piece by piece and highlight all the specific areas of where the changes are. You have seen the screenshots, but we'll go through the live interface here. Where I wanted to start is actually quickly going into the settings and pointing you to the success flow section. So if are an admin and have not done this for your team, I encourage you to do this right away and define your specific success flow categories. It can be pretty granular, or maybe build the specific just high flow buckets and add up to 12. So you have an ability to add up to 12. When you go into add a success flow, as I mentioned, you want to give it a name, and I'll just call this test. You can specify an icon for it. And you can also define whether it's going to be a default success flow. So default means if your customer success team notes a touch point or creates a task without defining anything themselves, that particular engagement will inherit a default. And whatever the default should be for your team, that's the default that you should basically set up as a default. We have a default as nurture because, that's kind of the lowest common denominator. If you don't assign anything else, typically a lot of activities that we have with our customers are going to be falling into a nurture type of category. But you do want to have some granularity here. If you have specific executive type of conversation, you can call it relationship, or you can call it an executive engagement where you have a conversation with your C-level champions at your account. Upsells, obviously, are important if there's a component of your customer success department that handles upsells, and those are specific conversations. It's great to have that particular definition for your success flow. So I would encourage you to define these and set your defaults, because if without the default, when your customer success department goes in and adds their touch points and creates tasks, there's not going to be kind of an order to it. So we want to make sure we keep things organized and consistent. So make sure you do the settings before everybody jumps in to start using. And from there, let's go through kind of the parts where we see the specific success flow additions to Tatango. So one of it would be in the notifications tab. And now with the filtering, when I click on filter, I get my success flow categories available to me. So if I want to click on something specific, maybe an escalation, I pull up just the escalation notification so I can just focus on all of my notifications that are escalations. And if I want to look at nurture, I can go to nurture and then simply focus on those. I can also look at it by type. So if I want to look at all my nurture success flows also that were just touch points, I can easily do that. So this gives you like a little bit more granularity in filtering capabilities that can be beneficial. If I want to get out of the filter, I can simply clear the filter and go back to the normal notification screen. I can do basically the same thing with work. So all your tasks, you can filter by the specific success flow type. Now from here, I'm going to jump in directly into one account profile, just to look at what the new changes are within the account profile section. And I'll highlight also the customer love features as we go through this. So as I mentioned, within the top header, now that you have the one click to edit attribute features, if those attributes are being managed directly into Tango, you can go in and hover over them and click on the little pencil icon and simply expose that attribute and either change the value or enter a new value if it's appropriate. So that gives you kind of a really handy way to quickly manage the editing process of your attributes. Now, the other area here is the one that I mentioned where you can actually expose the specific success flows that are interesting for you to track and note the last day of that particular activity. To edit this, you can use the little settings wheel and expose the specific success flow activities directly here. So maybe I want to bring in my relationship. I can do up to 5. So if I wanted to uncheck 1 and bring in the relationship one instead, I can do that, check box it, and then now I can see easily in my account profile page what was the last date of that particular engagement with my customer. So for example, if my last relationship activity or my executive conversation was way too long ago, maybe I should kind of reach out and make sure that that happens pretty quickly. So that's one cool way to do that. The other thing, you have the little icons now. So for every specific task that you have, you can actually see the type of engagement that was. So we have a relationship one here that you can easily see. And in our timeline, we have the filtering capability. So when I click on filter, now I can actually specify what type of engagement I'm looking to find. So I can actually click on these things and in my timeline filter by the type of engagement that I have had with the customer. Also, when I add my new tasks and when I add my new touch points, I can actually define the type of engagement that it is. So I can say this is going to be a renewal conversation, and I can type in my notes. And when I save this, my touch point is going to be added, and it will have the specific type categorization to it, which is really neat. And now with the new ability with the customer love release that I mentioned, you can actually easily go back and edit your touch points. So now because you made a mistake or a typo, you don't have to feel, oh, now it's stuck in there indefinitely. You can actually go in and make your adjustments and correct yourself. And you can also delete if you accidentally typed in something that shouldn't have been there. You can delete a touch point as well, which makes it foolproof and error-proof for yourself. You can also clear the filter, and then you just go back to the same display of information for all of your particular timeline notes. The other thing I wanted to highlight here that's very similar, just so that you know, when we go back to the very bottom of the page, if you do manage your timeline in this section, you have the same capability here. So you can actually see your dates of last particular success flow or engagement. You can also filter by the type of success flow and also by type. So you can do the same thing I just showed you at the top of the account profile directly in the timeline section within the screen. Now, within the information section, as I mentioned, with the other customer love features, where you can actually do one click to call or one click to email capabilities, you can manage that if you have, let's say you're passing to Tatango the phone number for your customer or a website, you can actually click to it directly from here. You can also, if you make your notes, if I do like a note in the timeline and I add a phone number, and then I can just go in. Let me add it really quick. And if I do an email, and I'll just do Cecilia@tatango.com, you can note that for yourself. And then my website is going to be tatango.com. When I save that in my timeline, now if I click to that, and if you guys have the soft phone capabilities, that will actually dial that phone number for you. And then if I click on this email, it will open up my email browser. And if I click on the website, it will redirect me and take me to the Tatango website. So these are really neat. You can also do the same thing on the user level. So if you have users and are sending to us that information for a particular user, then when you are on that user, if you have that data, if you have their phone number, or if you have their email address directly tied to them, you can click to that and directly engage with that customer directly without having to open up any other windows. So those are all part of our customer love release features that I wanted to quickly highlight as well. Now, scrolling to the bottom section of Tatango here, I wanted to highlight the support section. So if you do integrate the Zendesk piece, it will appear within here. You will have your information as to how many support unsolved tickets you have and how many top priority tickets are there. And if there are any recent tickets, the information for them would appear here. Let me actually go back to my portfolio and actually I'll find tickets or accounts that actually have the support information, and I'll click to this particular customer that had a support engagement, and I will show you what that would look like. when we go to the Zendesk section. So now we have information about a particular ticket, the subject of the ticket, whether it was solved or reopened. You can actually, if you click on the ticket number, you will actually be able to go into your Zendesk tool and then go into more details there. So that's the account profile page. Moving on to the executive console. So when we looked at the team section, now we have all of our success flow and categorization of the specific engagements that we're having with customers. So for example, if I hover over one of my CSMs, I can see the percentage of time they're spending in a particular area. And then I can define and say, okay, maybe we need to shuffle resources. Maybe we need to focus more on executive relationship type of activities this week or this month. This gives you that capability of kind of looking into, where the team is spending their time. You also have filtering capabilities. So when you expose the filter, you can see and say, okay, I want to see how we're doing and how much time are we spending and how much volume are we getting in escalation type of activities. And so this will update for me for the whole team. And I can see, how many escalation activities or accounts are falling into each particular, customer success manager. So it looks like Ron has the most escalations that he's dealing with. Maybe now we want to look at something like onboarding, because it's typically a very heavy, hand-holding experience and very involved, and we probably see a lot of volume of engagements in onboarding. So we clearly see Ron has a lot of onboarding customers at this time, and so he's spending a lot of time focusing in onboarding. So you can do this. This is really neat to filter by that, so you can reposition and reshuffle how you're spending your time and where you're focusing for your team. And I can also clear this filter, and then it just brings me back to the general view for all the touch points and shows me account coverage across the board. So that's your team console. The other sections that we already covered are the success plays and campaigns. But what I wanted to do is quickly jump into segments and then jump into the success plays and campaigns. So what I've done, actually have a couple of specific segments that I created. One is on the account level and one is on the user level. So if I create an account level segment, I'm looking for customers that have at least one priority or over than one top priority ticket. This is the same one I already showed you. Basically, I'll show you the editor really quick, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause my triggers first so that I can edit. And when I bring in my editor, this is where I'll point you to a section where you can expose the support level information as you define your thresholds. So if we scroll on the left side to the support tickets section and click on the little arrow, now we have the unsolved tickets and ticket volume. So when I click on unsolved tickets, I can specify this. I can see all unsolved tickets, or I can just simply look for top priority, which is what I did in my example, and then ticket volume. So we can do ticket volume as well, for all or top priority. So I can expose that. I'm looking for my top priority unsolved tickets, at least one. When I apply my filter, I get my results. The other thing I did here, so you guys know, is I edited my column so I can actually expose the number of top priority unsolved tickets. You can do that by clicking on the little plus sign and modifying the results or infusing the columns that are interesting to you. So what I did here, I scrolled to the bottom and I exposed my support ticket section, and I check the ticket volume and top priority unsolved tickets. So those are the columns I'm going to add. This one I already have in there. And when I add my columns, now I have my data in front of me. So I have the total top ticket volume and top priority unsolved tickets. So now I have those numbers easily available to me to monitor. And again, if you guys are unaware of these features, you can group this by essentially any specific attribute into Tango. So if I wanted to group this by my success manager to see, how many accounts a particular success manager has under their responsibility that have more than one top priority ticket, I can group it this way. It gives me a really nice visual as well. And now I can just ungroup it if I need to go back to my general results. I can save my segment. And now, as I mentioned before, you can use the trigger capability to get notifications by email. So as I have new customers that have more than one top priority ticket enter this list, I will get an email. And this is where you do that. You can actually go into the triggers and specify an email address. Again, I would make this segment public if you want it for general consumption, private if it's just for you. I will save it. I will activate so that my email trigger is active. And from here, this is where I can build processes. So as I mentioned, there could be a really powerful success play that is built from something like this. And from here, you can dive into the success play building process directly from the segments screen. All your logic will already be infused here, but this is where you can actually modify the definition for your success flow. Is this going to be a nurture type of engagement? I don't think so. It's going to be an escalation because it's happening on top priority tickets, and you want to make sure it's treated as such, as an escalation. You can give it a description. I'll just simply copy this one, and from here you'll just simply go through the building process of your success play, as you're familiar with doing already. You will give it a task, and so basically you'll tell your team what they need to do. It will continue being an escalation. You'll define who it's going to. It can go directly to your success manager. You can specify who it's assigned by. It's going to be you directly, or you can specify if it needs to be assigned by someone else. You can give it priority. I'll give this high because it is an escalation. You can give it a due date. I'll make it 1 day because it's pretty critical to expedite this, and then I'll continue. And then from here, I'm pretty much ready to go. Once all my everything is defined, I can activate my specific success play, and then my success play tasks will get assigned to my CSMs, and they'll also get an email, letting them know that they have a new task assigned. So that's our success plays. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my segments, and I'm going to go back to my top priority tickets on the user level. So this was a user level segment that was created. Very similar. So basically on the user level, I'm simply looking for my end users that have at least one unsolved top priority ticket. Now I also want to make sure that I'm looking at customers that are paying. So I'm going to look at users from paying customers only in this particular case. And now that I have this identified, I did the same thing. I edited my columns. So I used the little plus sign and I exposed the columns that are interesting to me. So I wanted to see how many unsolved tickets I have, how many top priority unsolved tickets I have for each individual user, and what is the total volume of top priority tickets, both unsolved and solved. Now from here, as we talked about campaigns, you can really automate some of the communication that happens with your customers, and gets delivered directly to them via campaigns automatically. So to do that, we can just simply launch into our campaign directly from the screen by clicking on this little start campaign icon. And that will bring us into the building process of our campaign. And now we have the new additions that we discussed with our success flows. And again, the default for us is nurture, but we are going to modify this and make this an escalation campaign. We can define what type of campaign it will be. We can make it a custom campaign, and we'll simply go through our process again as we're familiar with in defining, building our campaign logic. We don't have to rebuild the logic because we already inherited the conditions from our segment, which is nice. But if we want to infuse something else, if there's more conditions or features or actual specifications that we need to add, we can bring in our editor again and then refine our specific logic here. But assuming we're happy with that, we can simply continue with building our campaign. We can give it a subject, maybe say something, we're on your support ticket. Stay tuned. And of course, this is customizable to you. You can send it out directly from the success manager. You can have a fallback email address and name. And then from here, you'll simply, again, define and bring in the specific template, or maybe you're just going to make it plain text. You'll specify your message, the body, the contents of the email, and then you will launch your campaign. So this can be automated and can be really, really fine-tuned to the specific interaction or the communication that you want to go out to the customer whenever they enter a state where they have more than one unsolved top priority ticket. So you can really automate that particular communication so that your customer feels a warm and fuzzy and they know you're on it and someone actually is paying attention to their specific tickets and problems that they're experiencing. So that's the campaign section. The other quick thing I wanted to highlight here as we are in the demo is the Zendesk section. And so if you are an admin and do want to integrate Zendesk, you are going to do this under settings. You will go to the integration hub and simply specify the Zendesk integration and go through the wizard. So if you haven't done this, you will just go through the settings. If you want to edit settings later on too, it basically will bring up the same process where you will go through this wizard step by step to follow the specific setup that you need to infuse here by selecting kind of your ID to match the Zendesk ID with the Tatango ID, and then go through the process of specifying the specific fields that you want to bring into Tatango from your Zendesk tool. So with that, I'm going to pause for a second and look at the questions that may have come up during the session. So we do have a question. Okay, so there's a question on Zendesk. So is there a way to pull custom Zendesk ticket fields? We track detailed information on the subject of the support request via custom fields. So that's a great question. At this time, there's a default set of fields that can be brought over. So at the moment, there are no custom fields that can be brought in. Also, there's actually a really good article that I can share with you, and I'm actually going to post it for everyone in the chat so that you have it. But basically, you have some commonly asked questions there that I think will be helpful for you and everybody else here to review, and actually goes into this question as well in greater detail. Okay, the next question. Is there any way to export the success flow information? For example, if I want to create a segment with all customers who have the onboarding success flow, that is a super question. So the first iteration or the first version of the success flows at the moment, everything that I showed you was what we have today. The future capabilities or kind of future versions of success flows will have more abilities for segmentation and reporting. So at this point, that's a no, but we will have this in the future as we evolve the success flows capabilities going forward. Okay, next question. How does editing the attributes affect any syncing from third-party systems such as Salesforce? That's a super question too. So I wanted to make sure that, and as I highlighted that, if your attributes or things like, let's say on the account profile that we manage for you come from Salesforce, then those things should continue to be managed through Salesforce. So if those things are currently being edited in your Salesforce CRM, then keep that way. Only attributes that are managed onto Tango should be edited onto Tango. So, just make sure you remember that. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so let's go to the next question. How does editing, let me see. So with only 5 display in this view, looks like there's room for 6 in the bar. Yeah, so on the account profile page where we're looking on editing the specific success flow types, there are only 5 that you can view at this point. All right, next question. When you edit the success flow categories on your profile, what is user specific? That is user specific, correct? Actually, so the thing is for the definitions on the account profile page, most likely, if you're an admin level user, you can configure those for the general population. So if you expose the specific success flow categories, they should be inherited by the rest of the organization consistently across the board. So let me just dive into the account profile page really quick. Let me know if anybody else has any questions. We have a few more minutes left. If there are any questions coming in. If there are no questions, then I wanted to thank everybody for joining. I hope this session was valuable. Everybody that's here, you will get a recording of this webinar, and we want to look forward to seeing you at our future sessions. So thank you everyone for joining. I'll stick around for a couple more minutes. But for everyone else, thank you for coming, and we hope you enjoyed your time with us. And we'll see you again soon.